Listen to the artists of today. Travel with them along their way through the Doris Hall James Indie Show. The Doris Hall James Indie Show. Oh. We go. Hello, everybody. Hello. How are you? Welcome to the DHJ Indie Show. I'm so honored to have each and every one of you on the show today. You look great. And I just feel so good to see all these smiling faces. And Fostina, boy, oh boy, have I heard so many good things about you.
Yes.
And you're going to tell us everything about yourself. But one of the most important things, the thing that really got me today is when I turned on that Ooh Baby Baby by Smokey Robinson. Man, that thing blew my... Congratulations to you.
Yes.
Oh, thank you. That's your flavor, Doris.
Oh, I love him. I love him. And I love you for doing it.
Oh, good. Thank you.
Okay, so let's each introduce ourselves. Let's start with Kat.
Hi, I'm Kat Fontaine. I'm from Chester, Pennsylvania. I grew up in Chester, and around 13 years old, I met Mike Nice from Dancing on Air at Cheney University, and I was 13. I said, "Do you record lead vocalists? Because I can blow." And Mike started recording me. So I've been recording since I was 13 and working in Sigma, mostly in Philadelphia, the Philadelphia area. And after I left Mike, I went to Delaware State. I have my degree from Delaware State University.
Okay.
Go Hornets.
And and I reconnected with a producer that I knew, a musician and a vocalist that I knew, who is now a producer, Butch Ingram, and he's released several tracks on me. And so I'm in the worldwide market again.
All right.
So,
okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Butch Ingram, was he a principal?
No.
Okay, I know Butch Ingram.
Well, I
He was
don't
one of
know.
my
I don't know
principals.
because I don't know if he was a principal or not. So I can't answer that. I shouldn't have said no.
I've heard
Okay.
that before, but I don't think it's the same Butch.
Okay.
But
Okay.
you knowing Butch, you never know.
Faustina, go ahead.
Faustina.
Yes.
Okay, Faustina Dixon. Here I am. That's all I got.
That's all you got.
That's all I got.
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Well, Doris had me come on the show today so that I could talk a little bit about my career as a musician and as an educator. I would like to think of myself as a philanthropist, but I actually was the founder of the Woman to You Jazz Band, and that is something that I'm beginning to appreciate more and more, especially with the needs of our children these days.
Yeah.
And I sometimes think about dipping back into that kind of service on behalf of the children. Doris, you do a wonderful job with those kids.
Thank you.
Oh my God, I could look at them all day long.
And I work with them so hard, and it's so hard to work with.
Oh yeah. That's my concern. I'm not too sure where my patience would be, but through the grace of God, He can give you all things if that's your assignment for this season. So we'll see.
Okay.
Nice.
Okay, Diane.
Yes, greetings on this liquid sunshine day. I am one of Faustina's dearest childhood friends. We grew up together.
Okay.
And we've been like this ever since I can remember. I was born, raised, and still in Delaware. I am a native, and I enjoy life to its fullest every day.
Yes.
I have been joyfully, peacefully, wondrously retired for 9 years, and I love my new life.
Okay.
Nice.
Okay, Daryl.
Nice to meet you.
All right. Good afternoon, everybody.
Afternoon.
I'm a friend of Fostina Dixon's. I guess she invited me on because I'm a film director and producer, and I have produced two music videos on her over the time frame. My career spans from graduate of Penn State University all the way to working for Alpha National Records and
Alpha.
doing
Okay.
yeah doing
Wow.
doing the that was the arm the label arm of Sigma Sound Studios.
Hmm.
So I was there for 4 years doing film and video for them. And then I was the manager of Sound and Market Record Store here in Philadelphia,
Yeah.
for about 18 years. But
Wow.
over that time, I've
Well,
directed and
yeah.
produced a whole bunch of music videos and TV. Actually, I was editing a project when this call started and everything. So just continue to be a creative, just trying to bring people's visions to light.
Mm.
Nice.
Well,
Nice to meet you, Daryl.
Hmm.
we all have some sort of passion for music, and like I have a passion for music, but I also have a passion for kids, for children.
Mm-hmm.
And my, I've been in music all my life, but my real job, I was an educator. I was a teacher and I was a principal. And
Yeah.
I came across and taught a lot of children. And I used to steal from Peter to pay Paul so I could have music lessons within my school. And when I retired, before I retired, I started the nonprofit Simply Music Incorporated. And we teach children how to play basically piano. And I usually have 13 to 15 kids at one time. And sometimes it gets too much for me. But I continue to push forward because they're our future. And they can take music and they don't have to be a singer or an artist. They can become whatever they want to be as long as once they get the music into them, they can do whatever they want to be. So,
Yeah.
so I can continue doing those things. But today, I want to focus on Faustina and all the good things she has done in the music industry. Tell us how you got started.
So I guess this probably isn't documented. I need to write a book. Um,
Yes, you should.
I
You
do.
should. Hmm.
So I started playing when I was 8 years old. And that's one reason why I wanted Diane to come on.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't know, she's one of those people that was throwing apples. SFA used to throw apples up at my window and talk about, come on out and stop practicing and
Come on out. That's
hey, come on out and play. Were you one of them people antagonizing me when I was practicing at 8?
So continue. Listen. So continued your story.
so, yeah, I started on clarinet, but when I went to school, everybody picked up an instrument. I mean,
Yeah.
just about everybody. That was a part of our culture, right? So
Absolutely.
the whole block, everybody who was in my age group, we all had an instrument. The
Mhm.
difference was my instrument was uh, not new. It was a used clarinet. Whereas Wayne Milton, Diane, or Wayne, Nat, Curtis, they had brand new instruments.
Yeah.
Wow.
So my dad, he had the wisdom to
Mhm.
give me a used instrument. But I worked my butt off, and eventually I got a new instrument, of course.
Mhm.
But
Nice.
I started Caldwick Elementary, 8 years old, and I was just telling. I went to St. Mark's High School. I was just speaking to them. They want me to bring a program there a couple of days ago. The way I got into St. Mark's is because I would have gone to Delaware High School in the thread, but Delaware High School did not have a jazz band. And I don't know how I found out St. Mark's had a jazz band. Delaware had a slam, and I was in the marching band.
Yeah.
I was in the marching band and the concert band in middle school. So they would come and get either I would ride with Bruce right out, or we had a van come. They had a van come get me from Carwick Middle School to take me over to Delaware High School to be in the high school band. But I never went to high school at Delaware. I went to St. Mark's because they had a jazz band. And Mr. Clatch, again, the way God will bring people into your life.
Yes.
Man, he had such foresight. He had Maynard Ferguson, Count Basie.
Wow.
I mean, all these phenomenal people come to St. Mark's, to encourage us. I don't know where we got the money, because, a lot of private schools don't get the funding, right? But
Yes.
it was my first saxophone strap, my first professional saxophone strap for the baritone. I started, my first saxophone was the baritone sax. You see how my hands, like I could actually feel it in my hands, was the baritone sax. And my first professional saxophone strap came from Johnny Williams, who was a baritone saxophone player in Count Basie's band.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
how that small gesture carried me in my life as a child. And so that's why Doris and all you educators, man, and I forget it, all us educated, we have to remember, and I have really, like, as a teacher, I had a good side and I had a mean side. I guess the mean side came out because I wanted the best for them. And like Doris was saying, the patience thing. And, when you love somebody, and you grow to love your kids.
Yes.
And so, later on, okay, so after I finished St. Mark's, I went to, here we go again. It is now called the Music School of Delaware. One of the summer programs, Hal Schiff had a jazz enrichment program during the summer at the Music School of Delaware. At the time, it was called Wilmington Music School, but now because they branched out and they have more than one school, it's called the Music School of Delaware. And during that summer enrichment program, here we go with education again. There were some teachers that came from Berklee College of Music.
Excellent.
And that's how I won an award for my improvisation and, at the end of the program. And that's how I got a scholarship to Berklee. See what I'm saying? So all this ties into education.
Yes.
So then I went to Berklee. And from there, after 2 years of Berklee, I started working professionally. And so I'll stop there.
Okay, Kat, take
it. That's the beginning. That's what you asked for, right? How I started. So
Did you bring any pictures, Fostina, of those early days?
We can get them though. We can get those pictures.
Yeah, because I was they just did a display of me at the Delaware Historical Museum, and I had a couple of photos. Yeah, but I have some archives if you guys want to.
Yeah,
especially the second grade picture and the third grade picture and the first grade when you don't have any teeth. Got to have that one.
Nice. Well, I started where you started. I started with flutophone, and then I went to clarinet, saxophone, alto, and tenor sax. And I was the assistant branch director at Settlement Music School here on Queen Street in Philadelphia. But I have been coming in and out of Philly for years. But I've listened to a lot of your material and I've read your information online. You're an amazing educator, artist, and I don't know how you do it. I lived in Europe for 10 years. I lived in the Netherlands, and I saw that you've been over there.
I love the Netherlands. And look, before I forget, I love your voice. Like, okay, so Doris, you're a singer, and not, so you'll know exactly. So there's a cavity here, right?
Yeah.
And you talk through this cavity.
Yes.
I'm going to tell you who your voice reminds me of, who I adore, Abby Lincoln. So if you don't know her music,
Okay.
listen to some of Abby Lincoln's music.
Okay. Okay. Nice. Well, how long did you tour Europe? What were some of the countries that you visit when you were over there?
Who, me?
Yeah, weren't you over there with a band, Robert Boyce Lowry? Was the same thing you're talking about?
Yeah, Mr. Lowry. No, Mr. Lowry is a Delaware teacher who's taught people all over the world. He taught Clifford Brown, Ernie Watts, me, hundreds of people. So
but didn't he get you into another band and you toured over there in Europe?
No, he never got me into it. He just taught me well.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
He's one of my instructors.
All right.
Nice.
Yeah. Diane, did you ever meet Robert Lowry?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
Oh, you met him?
Yes.
Yeah, he's a staple in Delaware, just like Bob Marley. You know, he's but Robert Lowry is a real, I don't know. Give me another word other than famous, but he's a staple. He's, in Delaware.
Okay.
So I went to Europe. I toured in Europe with. I never toured with Marvin in Europe. Well, we went to Asia with Marvin.
Oh my God, that's what we want. How'd you meet him? Is this how you met him?
Oh, that's another story. I mean, I can tell you, but I toured to Europe with I'm trying to think with Frank Foster.
Okay.
That's another name that Frank Foster led the Count Basie Orchestra after Count Basie retired. Frank Foster is the composer of the song "Shiny Stockings."
Okay.
And so he and James Blood Armour. I toured with James Blood Armour a lot in Europe. And I'm thinking of some other people, but I'll pull out my bio so that I can look at my own stuff. The way I met Marvin was after 2 years of Berkeley. I went to California to visit my cousin, and Frank Morgan, another great saxophonist, was having a jam session at Stage One. And I went to the jam session and took my baritone, and at a jam session, you fill in. Okay, what do they call them nowadays?
Open mic night?
Open mic, yes. Jeez.
Yeah.
Jesus, peas and rice. Come on. It's a jam session, man. Yeah. Open mic. Okay, so it was a jam session and we was getting it in, and Marvin's band director, Nolan Smith, happened to be at the jam session. He was playing trumpet. He was the band director, conductor. And he said, "Can you believe this? Can you come and audition for Marvin Gaye tomorrow?"
Yeah, right. I'm busy.
You're busy.
Yeah, right. No, I'm sorry. I got a doctor's appointment.
That's great, man. And that sax that you were playing, that thing is heavy.
Yeah.
All those years. Wait, you strap or don't strap?
Yeah. I'm going to try to learn how to play it with it sitting on the floor just to save my back. Because I know people that play a smaller sax, eventually a curvature happens in their back. It's not worth all that.
Yeah. That's great. So you made the audition. Well, you passed the audition already when you were with the jam session. So what happened when you went to see Marvin?
What was the last thing?
What happened when you went to see Marvin?
Oh, when I went to see, so I made the cut. That's what I say on a commercial. I made the cut. So then I toured with Marvin for 4 years, and
great.
When he did the "Hear My Dear" album, he had fled to Europe. If you know that history, which I'm not getting, but at some point, something, or whatever. And so the "Hear My Dear" CD was done in Europe. I had left him by then and had moved to New York.
That's excellent. That's excellent.
Yeah,
Wow.
all over
Wow.
the place. That's wonderful.
And you,
Yes, ma'am. I moved to New York just so it's kind of like on record because in California you either worked with an artist like a Marvin Gaye or you did what we call studio work. And studio work back then with the films and the commercials, if you were a woodwind player, you had to play all the saxophones, at least flutes and clarinets, because they call it doubles. So if you say you had a 3 hour session and you got paid $300 for a 3 hour session, if they ask you to bring your flute and your clarinet, you get paid for your doubles. So that was very prominent when I was in California. Doing studio sessions, I worked with H.B. Barnum, and I can't think of all them people. And that's how we made money. And I did very little teaching when I was in California. So and I was with Marvin, and then I started anyway. Yeah, I'm trying to just give some lessons here because I have to do that as I go. So when the studio work started dwindling because more recording, what you call this, what you call it, Daryl?
digital
Tracks.
Yeah,
tracks, yeah.
Tracks were being and more electronic music was being used. That started affecting the horn sections, right? Because instead of using live instruments, you would just use tracks or electronic music.
Yes.
But in addition to that, I wanted to move to New York because that's where I'm going to put the quotation mark because I don't want anybody from the West Coast mad at me, but that's where the real jazz was. And that's where you had to get on a train 2 and 3 o'clock in the morning, and I'd be on the train going to the after hour gig. You understand, making $40. So that's what I wanted to do. And that's where I met the real jazz audience and people who had like the Frank Foster, Sly Hampton, Melba Liston, Abby Lincoln, Gloria Coleman. I could go on and on and on. But that's where that came. Lonnie Plaxico. That's where those people who really taught me the depth of my jazz education.
Yeah.
They taught me the depth. So people always want to talk about Marvin Gaye, and that's cool. But it's the New York scene and that education that put me where I am as an artist today.
Nice.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
When you were in New York, as a young artist, they've always stressed so much about reading music. Did you have to read music in order to play in those clubs, or were you doing more improvisation?
Oh no, we had to read music.
See, that's what I tell the kids all the time. They always tell me, "Well, Mom, I can hear." I have 2 sons, biological sons. I had a daycare. I had foster kids, and I'm adopted parent. So when I talk to the kids about the different things that they need to do to learn music, they say, "Well, why do I have to read this note?" Because I can hear it, and they can go and they can hear it. But they still have to read it because reading is still a priority. At least I think so, because if you want to join a band or something like that, you have to be able to read the charts and, that kind of stuff. So I work closely with Alfie Pollock, and the things that I don't know, he comes in and he teaches the kids. So that's still an asset, right? Because the kids are trying to tell me, no, that's not an asset. As long as we can get in there and play what they play, we're fine.
No, it's still an asset. I agree.
Yep.
Yeah,
reading
definitely.
is fundamental.
You have to be able to read. Can't go on Broadway if you can't read. Can't sit in the pit. Can't play in the pit. And session work. Back
Yeah,
in
you
the
can't
day,
do it.
in the 70s and 80s, they come and bring a chart. You gotta be able
A
to
chart.
read.
You have to read it.
It's still important to be able to teach children
Yeah.
how to read music. And it starts like when you started, around 8 years old, 9 years old, when they say, "You want to play a little instrument over here?" Did somebody give you a sax or a clarinet, or did you pick that yourself?
I think the school gave us an instrument, but I
They
remember
probably
Dad
did at that
Wayne, they
time.
had brand new instruments. I don't know. I think at first the school gave you, because back then the schools had instruments, and then eventually I had to rent my own or something Dad had to do, you know. But yeah, back then schools had instruments for the kids.
Yep.
Well, Faustina, how many albums have you had out?
Not as a solo artist, not that many.
Not that
I
many.
don't know, maybe I think I have 3 or 4 now, and then I have some single stuff. See, I didn't start solo recording until 2019.
Okay.
No, actually did a 2016 CD. It was a gospel jazz CD. But anyway, I had built my career either teaching or playing with other people, which that's good.
That's good.
That's where you get your fundamentals.
What made you want to go and do a solo project or do solo projects?
Wow. Now, see, this is why I have friends like Daryl and Diane. That's a good
Great
question.
question.
That is a great question. Probably because I had some music that needed to be recorded. I had written some original material. I had a band, Winds of Change, for over 20 years. And I guess because you can't do it all at one time. So they let you tell me your name again, ma'am.
Mine?
Yes, it's
Cat?
not Cat.
Just Cat. Yes.
You was asking me how do you do it all? So it doesn't all happen at one time. So I had Daryl, that was a good question. You're making me think. What did I do in 2019? Oh, I retired from teaching full time in 2017.
Okay.
And I retired from the Woman to You Jazz Band in 2016.
I thought that was the year before.
Yeah, I had to practice to get myself up to speed. Back to Kat's question. Because as an educator, Doris, you know that you really spend a lot of time with your kids and nurturing that part of your life. And so, Daryl, to answer your question, it was time. It was time for me to put that music that I had written over many years, some was recent, current, and I had the time. So first I had to, get down and practice the things that I thought would study and show yourself approved, and get myself up to speed, because again, you don't have time to do everything at the same time in life, at the same season in life. Wow, Dale, thank you for asking that. And that will be in chapter 5 of my book.
You need to get that book out. You really do. You need to get
Oh,
out.
yes.
Dale has another question.
Well, actually, I want to double down on that question because, you studied and learned when the New York, clubs, more of a traditional jazz, but, you have recorded not so much traditional. You've been more contemporary or smooth, so where does the decision come from, from playing to doing your commercial, sound?
Oh, where did the decision come from?
Yeah, to go with the sound that you're putting out, because that's not what you learned. You learned traditional.
Well, Yeah, but people are reminding me now because they're reminding me. I started with Daryl. Here's the thing: I'm going to say it like this. In our age group, good music, you had two kinds of music, good music and bad music. So when I went to my mom and pa's barbecue, you might would hear Nancy Wilson, and then you would hear James Brown, and then you would hear Count Basie, right? So in recent years, because of the industry, they started separating traditional jazz and contemporary jazz. It wasn't a real decision. Oh, I think I'll put a CD playing contemporary jazz. It was not a decision like that. The music kind of just Al what's his name? Al, the producer, Al Turner. He spent many days just having a conversation with me about how I wanted the music produced. And I wanted the contemporary sound, but I didn't want a contemporary sound to be in the smooth jazz market. I wanted the contemporary sound because I like to dance.
And that's what you did when you did that, the new song that you have out.
Are you on Ooh Baby Baby still?
No, I'm not there. I'm getting ready to go back there, but no. What's the new song?
Get on the floor.
Get up and dance. Get on the dance floor.
No, get on the floor.
Get on the floor.
And when we looked at it, they're dancing all over the place.
That's Daryl. That's his video.
Nice.
Oh, congratulations!
Good job. Good job.
That was good. That's good.
Actually, that was a part of the inspiration that I got, because actually I was introduced to Fostina with a common friend, Randall Grass at Shinachi Records. And that's how we got introduced. And then when I heard that song, sometimes, and you all know as creatives, there's the things that you do for money, but there's some things you do through inspiration. So when I heard the song, I mean, she didn't ask me to do the video. I just heard the song and was inspired to create something, from that. So when she didn't know that it was coming, when I shared it with her and gave it to her, as a part of it to help promote, where she was going career-wise.
Yeah.
And then, the friendship has just grown from there.
Nice gift, Daryl. Real nice.
Job. Yes.
So, I struggle with that because now I want to do a project called Give Them Their Flowers, about 5 women that I had the opportunity to work with. Abby Lincoln, Melba Liston, Gloria Coleman, Patty Bowen, and Trudy Pitts from Philadelphia.
Trudy Pitts. Yes. Abby Lincoln as well. Yes.
And that's going to be more, what word did y'all, traditional? Did you put that word on there? Traditional jazz. But these words really mess me up because, again, we don't set out to be on this radio station or that radio station. And so it's still something that I have to adjust to in terms of the real music business and the way the real world is operating, which is different from being an artist, which is why you have a manager, because a good manager will help you steer your way so that you don't lose any part of your identity.
Yes.
And you do have a manager.
I do not have a manager.
You do not.
I have Darren and Diane though.
Okay, well they're doing a good job. What can I say? They're doing a good job.
I don't have it because here's another piece of the music industry. Unless you are making X amount of dollars, them to get their money off the top, it's no longer like Motown, where Motown would grab, you got great talent. Let me help you out. Like Daryl just said, he was inspired to help me. And I told you guys before he got on that Daryl has been a blessing to so many artists. He supports, the artists, he so I gave them the spill down before you got on. But anyway, managers will only take the artists who are already making. I said they don't, so yeah, that's why you have so many indie artists. So if you go online and Google what is an indie artist, how many indie artists are there compared to artists who are signed to a record label? First of all, Daryl can really tell you about this. There's only very few record labels left.
That's right.
So most indie artists are now, most artists are now indie artists. So you have to get your record company, your publishing company, your promotion company, and I'm incorporated in the whole 9 yards. So kids, you have to know how to read because you have to read the contracts, okay?
Well, Fostina, how often do you perform?
It's seasonal because I have just got finished an EP. I wasn't focused on getting performances. And in 2024, I made a decision that I wasn't going to do what I had done in 2024 and 2025. And so
live and learn. Live and learn.
Yeah. Live and learn. I mean, it was good. I did some places around here that you guys are familiar with. I'm not going to say their names. But they don't pay well, and you do it because you want to get it. I'm not going to use the word exposure. That's such a corny word. But you do it to keep your chops up, or you do it to keep your band working, or just to have the fellowship with your band. Because the more you play, the more creativity comes out of the situation. And so I kind of kept them busy in 2024, but in 2025, once I started the EP, I had made a decision that I wasn't going to do the local stuff. Now I don't know what I'm going to do because traveling has become a big mess. Going to Europe. Kat said she lived in Europe, what, 10 years?
Yes.
Traveling because there was a time when we were diplomats as Black artists. We were diplomats, and now it's not that. And it could be even dangerous, and because of the whole climate of the world. And so God will direct my path. That's the best I can do.
Yes.
Well, another question is, how did you come to the decision to do Ooh Baby Baby? What made you do that?
I did you that. My heart went out to play. That's it. One day I just listened to it and I was like, okay, Lord, this cat, man, he went out and I was kind of putting myself in a situation, you know what I mean, Diane? When you
I got you. I feel
yeah. Look at Daryl looking all serious.
Well,
the sisters read in between the lines.
Oh yeah.
I
feel you, as they say.
Oh wow.
I want to thank you for doing it. I want to thank you. And I have a sister, her name is Deborah. She want to thank you too. Because that's her favorite artist. And we love that. And we're going to try to promote that as much as we can.
Well,
Doris, may I ask one more question also? You've mentioned a lot of names since when you were talking about your path. Can you tell me, is there anybody in your posse that has been particularly helpful, supportive, whether financial, spiritual, that you'd like to mention because they, more than one could be, stand above a lot of people besides Diane, because Diane is your best buddy. And Daryl, yes.
That's a beautiful question. So there was a lady named Colby Narita. And Colby was married to, you've heard of Sam Ash Music.
Yes.
I'm thinking all of you have been to, and Colby was married to Paul Ash. And Colby was Japanese. Paul, her husband, it doesn't matter, but she was Japanese and she loved, she supported women in jazz in particular.
Right.
When Abby came back on the scene after over 20 years of being sort of, off the scene, Kobe supported her in coming back out and producing her CD or helping financially. And I have to say, Kobe, I had a couple of things that happened to me physically, and Kobe was always right there, bringing juicing for me. She paid my rent for about a year, doing a very when I was down. I had surgery, to be honest with you.
Wow.
And so Kobe just passed maybe a year ago. Kobe Narita. That's who came to my mind first, and I'm sure there's other people.
Certainly.
Yeah.
Your dad, man. When you start talking about your dad and the used clarinet, and you got a new one. And I'm grateful to your dad. I never met him, but I'm grateful he put that in your hands. Because we get to be here with you right now and enjoy your gifts. It's been a pleasure, Fostina.
Well, Kat, I like your whole mannerism and your rhythm and everything, and I want to hear you sing one day because you one of the cats.
We're getting ready. We're getting ready to get her to sing. We'll keep you posted. We have something we're doing right now, but what information can you give others today, other entertainers now today? What inspiration to keep them going, because things are not like they used to be. And a lot of them are working day and night just to keep food on the table because the music is not selling. What kind of inspirational words can you give them today?
I almost feel like anybody could answer this question. You don't have to just be in a musician to answer this question, because I think it's more, what do we need in this life, in this season of life, to sustain? And so I think, integrity, respect, love yourself, try to be true, true to yourself as much as possible. It gets weird sometimes, because there are a lot of influences out there. Try to have a couple of good friends, real good friends that are going to be honest with you. As far as the music career, you better believe in yourself, and you better have a source of inspiration. My source, of course, is faith in God.
Good.
What'd you say, Daryl? Because he's been in another aspect.
Well, I mean, if I would, because I'm visual, by nature, what I've always taught artists is that you should, control your image. One thing that I appreciate what you've done, Faustina, with all your EPs and your CDs, even with the new single, Ooh Baby Baby, is that you as an independent artist are actually on the single, on the cover, and that's marketing. And I've seen a lot of independent artists who sometimes get so creative that they're not on the cover of a CD or a single, or even if they do now a lyric video, they're not in it. And you missing the opportunity to promote yourself. When I was in the store, and I'll give you an example. I had one artist who was in the store, and I was telling him this, and when he came, I saw a customer who had bought his CD, but his CD didn't have his album cover on it. So I brought the artist, the customer over, and I said, "What'd you think about this CD?" "I really loved it, this, like that." And I said, "This is the artist right here," because he never knew what he looked like because his picture wasn't on his CD cover. So, and I've always talked to all the artists I work with, right now you do shows, you do concerts, you got people out there with cell phones, and they're videotaping you and they're posting on their channel, and they're controlling your image. You have to control your image, now in this day and age, so that you can actually use that as a way to, because as you were saying, Faustina, there's the artist you, but then there's the business industry you that also has to, have its say, and you have to be able to think of, how do I promote myself, as well as how do I do the music that's worth promoting, or to do whatever it is. If I'm doing, poetry, if I'm doing, making, pictures, whatever it is, how do I do that? Because now we're in an age where, because of technology, it actually is a lot cheaper to be able to promote yourself, but you have to be intelligent about it, and you have to be able to put the work and the time in.
All right. Ashe.
Yeah.
Diane, what would you say?
Well, I concentrate a lot on positive energy.
Okay.
And so positive energy always creates elevation.
Mm-hmm.
And when you take the first letter of each of the words, PEACE, that's peace.
Mm-hmm.
So peace goes a long way throughout your wholeness, your mental, your physical, your spiritual, your emotional. So positive energy plays a vital role in just maintaining and continue to be the best that you are.
Amen.
But the way things are, and all those things are good, but the way things are, people, they get tired of not being able to get their music played. They get tired, although they are talented, they get tired of that. They get tired of working these penny ante jobs and bringing home a little bit of money. And I mean,
that's true.
what else? I mean, they can try to get their material in films because they say that's another way, or commercials, but that's doggone hard to even do that. And they're talented people. And what I see by being around a lot of artists, they're saying, well, should I continue to do this? Should I just give up? Because it's so
Never
hard
give
for
up.
me.
Never give up.
So, no, you never give up, but I tell them, just keep on trying. And God will open the door for you if it's meant for it to be. And just keep on trying and learn more and more about your craft, and meet people like you guys said that are influential to you. Someone who can help you and move you along, and don't knock you because you don't sound like so and so. They push you along because you're you. So that's what I tell people. I tell the young artists, the old artists, is just keep pushing along. Because one day doors are open and you'll walk right through that door.
I appreciate that, Doris. I
Mm-hmm.
appreciate you being, transparent like that, because that's the real of it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And so that's why I said anybody could answer that question, because this is really about life.
Yeah.
And how do you sustain during particularly these times, the family structure is different, life is different, our communities are different. And don't just focus on what you do, but who you are. Here I go with that again. It's real. You have to nurture your mind, body, spirit, and soul every day. I don't get up practicing. I get up praying.
That's right. That's right.
Okay. And being creative, you have to be creative in all areas, not just as a recording artist, as a vocalist. You have to try songwriting. You may not have a manager because you ain't getting enough gigs to pay for one. So social media, that's on your phone now. Everybody don't have an A&R man. We can't always afford a Daryl King. But we have to use all of our creative avenues and all of our contacts. Pray and do the best we can. You may not be an overnight sensation. You may be a 20-year overnight sensation.
That's true.
But God's plan will be fulfilled.
Yeah.
You just keep going. Don't stop.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. And anybody that want Daryl's services, I'm his manager. So please hit me up.
Oh, now she's taking over now, Daryl. Well, I just want to say thank you to each and every one of you. And you've given some good information to the youth, the children, the adults, the artists. I mean, you covered a lot in this interview. You gave everyone hope. And that's what we need.
Good.
You know, we need hope.
Yeah.
When I sit down and talk to them, the kids, you know, I'm going to show them the video, you know, and when this video is going to go on social media, you're giving people hope. And I want each and every one of you to keep doing what you do, because we need you to do what you do in the music industry and in the entire world, because what you're saying is fit for the entire world.
Absolutely.
And I thank you for being on the show. And the video will be out soon. And you know it's going to be one of my favorite songs when it come on, right?
Yeah.
Thank you for letting me co-host this show, Doris.
Yeah, thank you. Nice meeting you, Kat. Thank you, Diane and Joe. And thank you.
You know my name, AATFONT. Your screen is going to light up.
Okay, thank you,
guys.
guys.
All over the place.
All right.
Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you, Diane.
Bye, Diane. Bye, Diane.
Fostina, have a blessed day.
Thank
everyone.
Okay.
All right,
God
bye.
bless.